My name is Sandra Nasser. I have been a resident of Castro Valley since 2004. I'm a Palestinian American, and like all Palestinians, I am beyond heartbroken to see what is happening to the innocent civilians in Palestine. I was born in San Francisco in 1963, and at the age of 1, moved with my parents and siblings back to our homeland in Palestine. My first memory was exactly 5 weeks before my 4th birthday, when armored Israeli tanks rolled down our street. I can vividly recall the fear gripping my body as the playmates I was amongst dispersed, I running as fast as I could to find shelter in my mother's arms. That was in 1967, when the remaining 22% of historic Palestine was occupied by Israel. And since then, and for the past 56 years, that occupation has gotten more and more brutal and more suffocating. Congressman Swalwell, thank you for meeting with us today. I have written to you many times since October 7th, and you have repeatedly responded with how horrified you are about the attacks committed in Israel. My question to you is, are you not horrified by the genocide taking place in which over 20,000 people, half of which are children, have been murdered? Are you not horrified by the acronym WCNSF, which stands for Wounded Child with No Surviving Family, an all too common tragedy that is happening in Gaza these days? You responded also and said that you are disgusted with the barbaric attacks by Hamas. Again, I asked, do you not see that 66 days of constant bombardment on a besieged population of 2.3 million people with the most sophisticated weapons, including white phosphorus, as anything other than barbaric? Congressman, in your letter, you also said that Israel has a right to defend itself. I ask you, from whom? From doctors, professors, poets, journalists, mothers, babies? Because those are the people Israel is targeting. Those are the people we have witnessed being dug from under the rubble. And if they are lucky enough to survive and be transported to hospital, that is no consolation, as hospitals are being ruthlessly attacked as well. It's an outrage that our government, with billions of our tax dollars and with support of most of our representatives, including you, still dares to stand with what I call the rabid government of Israel. Netanyahu has said that he wants to turn Gaza into a parking lot. Other officials, both Israeli and Americans, have called for the annihilation of Gaza. Zionists are chanting in the street, death to all Arabs. Yet no one is calling them out for their hate crimes. As I was preparing for this meeting with you, Congressman, I received the most awful news. My dear friend Nadia, born in San Mateo, a graduate of Cal State Hayward, lost 25 members of her family on Sunday, December 10th, due to an Israeli airstrike. How can anyone not see this loss and hundreds more like it as horrific, as barbaric? What has become apparent is that these crimes happening before our eyes, with the blessing and full financial support of the US government, are putting us all at risk. Our politicians have lost the respect of the world because they are guilty of being complicit for the atrocities being perpetrated on the Palestinian civilians, and as a result, are compromising the safety of all Americans. Our unconditional support of Israel to kill and steal from indigenous Palestinians with our tax dollars is destroying America's reputation and position in the world. How shameful, and might I add, barbaric that we belong to the only country in the world that has once again vetoed another UN resolution simply calling for a ceasefire. Congressman Swalwell, in your reply, you have also said, and I quote, "Innocent Gazan Palestinians are as worthy of our empathy and support as an Israeli family on the other side of the security perimeter." My question to you is, how do you expect us to believe that you have any empathy and support for us when you cannot utter the word ceasefire? We are simply asking you, as our representative, to stop rendering us invisible. Innocent Palestinians are being murdered by the tens of thousands, and we demand that you call for a ceasefire now. Furthermore, I need to clarify that what you refer to as a security perimeter is more aptly called an apartheid wall by Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, and has for 17 years kept over 2 million people caged in an open-air prison. No one can get in or out of Gaza. What makes this current situation so unbelievably appalling is that even now, as the bombs are raining on over 2 million people, they are not allowed to get out of the besieged strip. Can anyone imagine such evil brutality? It has been described like shooting fish in a barrel. It is important to point out that since October 7th, nearly 4,000 detainees, which we consider to be our hostages, the Palestinian people's hostages, have been imprisoned, many under administrative detention, a procedure that allows the Israeli military to hold them indefinitely without charging them or allowing them to stand trial. The most recent children and women that were released in the exchange for some of the Israeli hostages described the most horrifying conditions of being stripped, beaten, and denied food, water, and blankets, of overcrowded cells, and of never being allowed to see their lawyers or parents. I'm not hearing a call, not a whisper, for the Palestinian hostages to be freed. To be completely real, in many ways, all Palestinians have been held hostage for over 75 years. It has been said that an army versus an army is a war, but an army versus a civilian population is genocide. What is taking place in Gaza, the West Bank, and in East Jerusalem is a genocide. Nevertheless, this genocide, also referred to as a war on children, could have ended weeks ago. However, with the unlimited supply of bombs and ammunition the U.S. government provides Israel with our tax dollars, the horrors continue as I speak. As a Palestinian witnessing this nightmare, this war on our beautiful children, day in and day out, it really is taking an incredible toll on my mental and physical well-being. It is hurting all of our well-being. It is difficult to enjoy a meal, a shower, a day of rest from all the carnage we are witnessing with no end in sight. Innocent people are being slaughtered by the thousands. The only silver lining is that finally, we Palestinians are no longer alone in this struggle. The people of the world see us now and understand our story, our 75-year struggle with the brutal colonizers, and through their anguish have vowed to never abandon Palestine. Anyone with an ounce of humanity is suffering with the Palestinian people, for if this can happen to children, to babies, then what is to prevent it from happening to theirs as well? from the millions of people protesting in the streets all over the world, and from my brothers and sisters with me today, I want to assure you that in the thousands, in the millions, we are all Palestinian. And finally, I ask, why? Why do you continue to minimize our suffering and the suffering of the Palestinian people, those who are brutally occupied, while magnifying the suffering of the Israelis, those whose government are the brutal occupiers? We are here to demand a permanent and an immediate ceasefire and an apology for the lives destroyed by your inaction.